warning in advance because the story is awful, and we're going to be talking about the unaliving of an unhoused black man. But it's being pushed aside, and it shouldn't be. So the young man who's been identified as Neely, who was living on the streets and had a history of mental health issues, boarded a subway car in New York. He started screaming in an aggressive manner. He said he had no food, he had no drink, that he was tired and doesn't care if he goes to jail. He started screaming all those things, took off his jacket, a black jacket that he had, and threw it on the ground, clearly in mental distress. And honestly, even if you had been of a sound mind, if you were hungry and thirsty and have no place to live, that could cause a mental break. So he's not in a good way, and I'm sure he was scaring some people. However, that's when someone who's identified as the strap hanger came up behind him, took him to the ground in a chokehold, like a rear naked choke, keeping him there for some 15 minutes. Now, anyone who has any experience with or follows MMA, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, etc., they know what a rear naked choke is. It's very effective for causing someone to lose consciousness, and it's relatively safe. But if you've ever been in like a jiu-jitsu gym and had that applied or seen it applied to someone, when they go unconscious, everything stops immediately, and steps are taken to help them regain consciousness. They're laid down flat so they have a clear airway. Someone will take their knuckles and rub it hard on their sternum, and generally they regain consciousness within a few seconds. However, if someone goes limp and you just kept applying it, the same thing that caused them to lose consciousness will end their lives. He kept that man that way for 15 minutes. He was dead in less than 5. And the insult to injury of all this, the strap hanger, who sources said is a Marine veteran, was taken into custody and later released without charges. Why? As a Marine veteran, he's trained and should know how dangerous that is. Why was he released without charges? As soon as that man was unconscious, he was no longer a threat. Steps could have been taken to restrain him in case he regained consciousness, and that should have been that. Instead, he was held that way by someone who should know better and died as a result. It's manslaughter at the very least. And as if all of that wasn't sad enough, Jordan Neely, that's the man who was killed, when he was 14 years old, he had to testify in court against his mother's boyfriend. Her boyfriend who murdered her in a domestic violence situation, strangled her to death, put her body in a suitcase and dumped her on the side of the highway. At 14 years old, that's what he saw. That's what he had to testify about. And he had mental health issues. I can understand why. And now he's been choked to death as well. It's like this young man never had a chance.